Hello, hello, and welcome to F Them Fish AuDHD for Grownups with your neurodivergent besties. That is me, Callie Elward-Barrett, and my, add in a superlative here, co-host,
Jayne Gurton.
And we are here to talk about all things neurodivergence, work, life, relationships, overwhelm, weird brain stuff, and the things nobody properly explains. Now, if that's your jam, stick around, but fair warning, we have a couple of pod dogs here, so they might be barking throughout. And Jayne did very well not to do the sweary bit at the pod dogs. I don't think that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. Yeah.
Lock them in another room.
Okay.
Oof. Sorry, give me 2 minutes.
All right, you go for it, Don.
Jesus.
So, while Jayne is out of the room...
Get out.
If you met anyone, despite hearing the doors banging in the background, Jayne is very much a pet parent. Is very much into her little pod dogs. But sometimes pod dogs be dogging. That sounded wrong. Oh my goodness. I might edit myself out. Who knows? We'll see. But how are you guys? Are you guys going okay? I know I'm saying that as if you can answer me, but this is what I do. I literally can talk to the walls. It's fine. And this way, I get to think I'm talking to you lot. Yay! I think I'm way more interesting when there's someone else around there. Hey, I could sing. Enthusiasm trumps talent every time. And as soon as I mentioned I could sing, I have the most random song that has come into my head. Are you ready? I need a hero. I'm holding out for a hero till the end of the night. It's gotta be big and he's gotta be strong and he's gotta be fresh from the fight. I need a hero. I'm holding out for a hero till the morning light. He's gotta be strong and he's gotta be smooth and he's gotta be larger than life. Larger than life. Hi, welcome back. How the pod dogs go
this week? Pod dogs are going in the bin.
Do you know what? Tech guy's taken my pod dog, taking him off to the granny flat because I was like, nope, no. Podcat is around somewhere, but she can't have realised I'm recording. Either that or we've accidentally shut her in a room somewhere. Who knows? How you doing, babes?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. I decided I'm not going to edit that out. They all get to hear me singing.
Okay, good. Yeah, love that. I'm sorry about pod dogs, but you got a performance from Callie singing, so really it was worth it.
It's a win-win. I mean, enthusiasm trumps talent. We've discussed this, right?
You would be on The Voice. Would you be on the good auditions of The Voice?
No, I would be on the ones that are the funny ones, apparently. But anyway, so we've bonded. Stuff. Me and the besties have bonded, and yeah, it was fun. We had a great time.
Amazing. I love this for you and the besties.
Thank you
so much.
Good
job, everyone.
Yeah.
I want to tell you about something that happened to me yesterday. It was so, it filled my soul like there's nothing tomorrow.
Oh, yay. I need some of that.
Yeah, so I went to Woolies with my hubby to pick up our little click and collect order.
DJ Beach. Yeah.
DJ Beach. And then I got out of the car and there was a dad and a young boy walking past, like a young man. He was about 18, 20.
Yeah.
And he was visibly disabled. I'm not going to label what disability that was, but he was nonverbal.
Yeah.
And he walked straight up to me and he gave me a fist bump and he was like right up in my personal space. Yeah. And I was like, hi, how you going? What's happening? And he was so excited and so happy to be with me. And I was like, what is happening? Why is he like gravitating to me? And then I realized I was wearing the sunglasses I bought at Mardi Gras, which are...
your Dame Edna Everage ones.
Yeah, they're black love heart glasses with like big diamantes around them. And he was enamored with them. So he like grabbed at my sunglasses and then like stroked my face, gave me another fist bump and then hugged me. And I was like, is it my sunglasses? Do you love them? And he squealed with joy.
Oh.
And I just had like the most heartwarming, soul-warming moment of...
That's beautiful.
Just love this, and I brought that boy some joy, and it was just a moment.
And he brought you some joy, right? Like
he did.
How gorgeous, how lovely. And How wonderful to be in a space of just two human beings, regardless of anything else. Just two human beings bringing each other joy. How beautiful. Yeah. I love that. Thank you. Cute. Yay. I love that.
And then this morning, I'm going to reframe. So I have trouble brushing my teeth. This is such a context switch, but we're just going to go with it.
Yeah.
I have trouble brushing my teeth because I don't have a good routine every day. So, and also sensorily.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, oral? I think that's it. I think that's the word.
Yes.
Sensorily.
I just say it weird. I have trouble brushing my teeth because I'm allergic to the mint in the toothpaste. It gives me asthma. It makes me wheezy.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah. Plus, like, I don't love the feeling of it. So if it's not in my routine, I struggle with it. But this morning, I thought, I'm going to be seeing you today, and I want to be smiling, and I want to be happy, and I only want to smile when my teeth are clean. Yep. So I'm reframing it to be like, part of my morning mindset to make my day a good day is to brush my teeth, so that I'll be inclined to smile more.
Aw, babes. I love that.
Maybe that'll help someone.
It's your smile prep.
It's my smile prep. Yeah. Makes me clean and ready to smile.
You know, brushing teeth is a really common neurodivergent thing. And that whole thing you were saying about habits. Sorry, I've immediately gone straight into flipping Callie the coach. I'm so sorry. Do we want that? We can get rid of that. We don't need to Callie the coach this. We can just enjoy the reframe.
If we don't have that, then it's just me being a freak being like, I have really cool sunglasses and I struggle to brush my teeth.
But like brushing your teeth is really common, right? Especially with younger people who have ADHD and other things. But certainly I know it's really prevalent for people who are ADHD because of the sensory issues. Now, obviously, there's overlap with things like autism as well around sensory issues. But where the difference or where difference between ADHD and autism, for example, is that the routine piece that you talked about. Once it's embedded in a routine of a person who has autism, typically, let me just say, that there are always exceptions, then there's that routine. That's what you do in the mornings to get ready for the day. That's how you get ready, right? And there are other challenges if you get an interruption. Interruption in that leads to other challenges. But with ADHD, we don't form habits in the same way that other brains form habits. And so for us, we have to develop routines or rituals is the word I'm looking for. That's what we have to develop. When I do this, the next action is this, if, then, or when, then, right? Yeah. And if you're on YouTube, you can see me doing the hand thing. Sorry for everyone else. It makes sense when you've got the visual. And that's a lot harder to put in place, right? If you get up and you know that you do this and you have to actively work on developing what that routine or system is, much harder. So we don't develop habits in the same way. We develop routines and rituals. And so when you say I don't have a good morning routine set up, it's the structure around the routine that maybe it's worth putting a bit of thought into. Well, what are the things that you need to do? What are the things that are going to be inconsistent based on your spoons? And do you have like touch points within there that will have to happen every time that you can then almost, use them? In my head, I've got like the poles where you'd swing around them and you get to the next one and swing it to the next one and then swing to you know what I mean? When you're a kid. No, when you're a kid. Bars? No, because you're standing. But when you're a kid and there's like at school and you have like a covered walkway or something, and then down one side would be like a wall, then you've got like a cover, and then on the other side you've got poles that are holding up the roof on the other side, and they're usually about like 1 meter to 2 meters apart. Right. And then you grab one and you swing through it, and then you grab the next one and you swing through it. No?
I've never done this before.
All right, me either. That'd be weird.
No,
but that's what I'm imagining it. It's almost like you're slingshotting off each pole. So they're your points within your daily routine or your morning routine. Is taking your meds has to be one of those slingshot points, where you have to grab that pole of taking the meds so that you can use the momentum to then swing to the next pole. So yes, monkey bars works as well, but I just prefer when dogs do dog training and they do that weavy in and out of the pole. It's kind of like that, but with momentum.
Yeah.
Right, no?
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to add to that though and say that for me, it's the motivations that really change whether I will do something in the morning. So because I knew I was seeing you, I brushed my teeth because I was like, I love you and you're beautiful and you deserve to have clean teeth. And
I appreciate that. That is actually very kind of you. I like being in the clean teeth gang. Yeah.
Thanks so much. And I'll take my meds because I appreciate when I don't struggle as much at work. And I always think, what's going to make my workday better? Meds. So motivations also works for me. And I have this is embarrassing and I'm going to just reveal it because like my husband,
we got you, boo.
Me,
yeah.
I am a fully functioning adult with a good job. And yet I still have a checklist for things I have to do in the morning when I'm getting ready for work.
Why are you embarrassed by that? Oh my God,
so
I love
basic.
this.
It's literally wake up, brush teeth, get dressed. Like, it's so basic.
No, I love it. This is perfect. You have actually just given the best tip to people, and just quietly in your motivations that you say, they become your swingy poles. The motivations are the swingy poles, right? So for me, the meds, going back to that one, and meds aren't for everyone, and that's totally okay. For me, they work. So taking these stimulant meds is that I get to often where I'm always late taking the second one, and I'm 50-50 whether or not I take the second one, right? But it's, have I got PB often? Because if I've got PB, I want the additional spoons and resilience that stimulants give me, so that I don't have to use all of my internal resources on the rest of the day. Because I'm nicer as a mum, I feel, when I've had when I'm less exhausted, as every mum would be. When you're less exhausted, you've got more internal resources. So anyway, that's my personal motivation for taking my second one. If it's late, I go, oh, is it going to keep me awake? You know what? I'd rather be awake for a little bit longer and have more spoons for mumming than if I, don't. So
can I just say, one thing that I've never understood and I never will, why the fuck did somebody create meds for ADHD people that you take repeatedly throughout a day? Do they hate ADHD people?
Look, I don't know the answer to this one, but you can get long-acting ones, right? So if you are, but I don't want those. I don't want long-acting ones personally. But you can get long-acting ones because of that. And I don't think they were I don't think anybody deliberately set out to create ADHD meds. I reckon it's going to be like, GLP-1s, and we're seeing that they have the side effects of helping with gynecological issues. We often find out side effects, unexpected, and then we go, oh, shit. We could use this diabetic medication for people who want to avoid bariatric surgery and therefore can, or they want to lose weight. So we can use these diabetic medications, help people lose weight, avoiding major surgery if it works for them. Oh, shit, we can go one step further and realise, actually, if you've got endometriosis or PCOS, this might be helpful. Speak to a doctor, don't trust me. But, that's how medications happen all the time.
So where did these come from? That's my thing. Like, why give someone 90s raves a day?
Oh, okay.
Oh, 90s raves. I love that.
I don't know. Legitimately, I have never looked into that. I'm going to now.
Yeah, it bothers me every time when I think about ADHD meds.
Yeah. Anyway, that was a side quest we didn't intend because
side quest. But today we are going to have a really special episode because we received the most unhinged, incredible, detailed, considered email from one of our bestie listeners.
Best. Yeah, we love this bestie, right? It's
this
the best
bestie is
email.
Our bestie.
Yeah. And so sorry to everybody else. I know we've got a few other messages in the inbox, but this one's
kills.
all, yeah.
It's an essay, so I'm going to read it all to you. So let's
do we have to come up with a fun name for this?
No,
bestie?
He says, happy for you to mention me should you discuss any of this on the pod.
Yeah, well, welcome. We have made it to the pod.
Welcome, bestie Robbie.
Woo!
I already am laughing getting into Robbie, you're my new bestie. So Robbie says, Dear besties, I had previously promised to complete the Beth's Dead homework after the fact, and I had additionally said I would send in a question. This is me coming good on both. Firstly, Beth's Dead. I must mention that it has taken me so long to email in purely because I may have been worried that if I interact too much with you guys, there is a chance you may conceive that I could in fact be all 8 or 9 of your alleged listeners. I would like to reassure you that this is not the case. Burnout ensures that I don't even have the time or energy to be one functioning person. But let's be honest, that is exactly what a parasocial fan would tell you if they thought you might be onto them. So it is not overly reassuring. Okay.
If you haven't listened to the Bethstead episode, right, seriously, go back and listen because it was a lot of fun. It was something a little bit different, right? Yeah.
Okay, back on track. Here we go. It's not the sun. I don't buy it. If the police investigated this as claimed, there is no way the professor didn't know. The police
hang on. We should say this is solely about the Bethstead episode.
This part.
Yeah, and also, spoiler alert.
I've already spoiled it.
Look, let's just call that an ADHD. Spoiler alert. Didn't quite make it on the timing. Go.
Let's face it. If you haven't heard it, you might forget to go back to it anyway. So, Spoiler alert. It's not the sun. I don't buy it. If the police investigated this as claimed, there is no way the professor didn't know. The police aren't just going to ring a random phone number provided. They're going to cross-reference information. They're going to talk to the professor in person. It's too big of a hole. Is the whole story real? Look, I'm open-minded. But I think not. I can definitely picture the Netflix series. Season 1, the sun did it. Season 2, no, it was the professor. Season 3, Monica was the real parasocial fan and orchestrated the entire thing all along.
Boom! I agree completely. That is literally right. Like, when season 2 comes out, Robbie, you and me are going to get together and we're going to be like, smug bitches.
Okay,
that's what we're going to be.
Robbie has just made besties with Callie. I don't think I'm on board with this because I don't agree.
Oh! Ooh, Jayne. Go on.
There's a rift.
Let's go.
I don't think it's all incorrect. I think that they have enhanced the story.
Because that's what we do.
Yeah. And also, they're storytellers. So I think they've pieced it all together like it's a good story. But I was listening to another podcast this morning about the top model. Have you seen that, like, Next Top Model documentary where...
No, but I've heard some commentary on it on some podcasts. Is there an hour podcast all about it? I think I listened to the Shameless podcast and it was doing, a bit of a deep dive on it.
No, I listened to Morbid and there was an episode where they did a deep dive on it and they were talking about one person, I think her name is Shandy or something, where the producers painted as she cheated on her boyfriend, but actually she was sexually assaulted.
It was awful. Awful.
So awful.
Yeah.
And in this podcast that they were talking about it, they were saying how when they watched the actual footage in the documentary, they realized it all, but the producers had cut it and changed it. And yes, it was all correct, as in it was true footage, but they had painted it in a different way to tell the story.
All through editing.
Yes.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
It's horrible in that case. In the case of Bethstead, I feel like they have cut it and pieced it to make a really good story and to make a narrative flow. I don't know that they would have made it all up. Okay. I think there is truth to it.
Okay, so you think there was somebody who maybe made up this whole thing. I have to say, like Robbie, all the way through, I just kept thinking it's Monica. It was definitely Monica. It was definitely Monica. She's the one who did it, And how much, that whole thing about people returning to the scene of the crime. Mm-hmm. How much is she loving being part of the drama now? Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if it is Monica, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I do think there's truth in the overall story.
Okay, so we think potentially maybe it was a bit of a BBJ, so basic and boring story, but they've embellished it, taken it to all the places it could have gone to.
I think so.
Okay, all right. I mean, I can be on board with that. I do think that mostly it's a load of bollocks, but yeah, it was a very entertaining load of bollocks. I mean, I've listened to I've watched 10-part shows and listened to 10-part fiction, other things in fiction that I don't care if it is. It was very entertaining and very interesting, and I love listening to podcasts and going about my day. That's what I love about podcasts, being able to just do my life at the same time as listening to them. So, yeah, here for it. All right. Robbie, I reckon, let's see if we can prove Jayne wrong.
Okay, you guys can gang up against me.
Yeah. Who else is on Team Callie and Robbie and who's on Team Jayne? Let us know.
I'll be on my own in the corner. That's fine, sweetie. All right, back to our besties email. Continuing with the essay, this will probably be the longest parts. Okay. Secondly, let me just take a little sip of water, besties, because this is quite quite a...
Hey, drink with us, besties, and we mean water. All right, like literally, you probably need water more than you need anything else right now.
I could go for something else. Okay. Secondly, the questions I want to pose. The actual questions I wanted to write in with are around autism diagnosis and where undiagnosed people fit within the neurodivergent community. I, being our bestie Robbie, am currently undiagnosed, but autism is something I've been discussing with my psychologist since the latter part of 2025. The conversation started after somebody who knows me pretty well, my ex, my daughter's mother, who I've known for over 20 years, asked whether I was autistic and whether my psychologist had ever suggested that I might be. I initially took it as a jab, although I must admit, it was not the first time somebody had asked me if I was autistic. I'm only slightly smiling there because I also get asked that, and everyone I know.
Yeah.
When I raised the topic in therapy, I expected my psychologist to dismiss it, or at least suggest that it was just my ex trying to get a reaction out of me. Instead, he asked whether it was something I wanted to look into. And that was not the response I had rehearsed for. Instantly, my brain went, maybe I am. Ooh. Prior to bringing this up with my psychologist, I had done some brief research into what autism actually was. It certainly wasn't what I thought it was, which were preconceived images shaped by exposure to stereotypes depicted in television shows such as The Good Doctor. I completed an online self-assessment through Autism Australia, which flagged that I may fit autism level 1. There were certainly traits I recognised in myself without having to force the connection. I'm good with numbers, systems, patterns, Excel, our work ERP software. I don't know what ERP stands for.
Okay. I do until the second you said I don't know what it stands for. When you said it, I was like, yeah, I know what that is. And then the second you said I don't know what it stands for, I forgot.
Okay, so some fancy software and general problem solving. These traits may have seen me affectionately referred to as Rain Man by a number of my work colleagues, and I am often reminded of my value to the company by management. I struggle to build meaningful relationships, including with family, friends, and romantically. I have no friends outside of the office. I've been single for over 15 years, and I've only been on one solitary date since 2014, which was in 2018. I also struggle with small talk, die a little or a lot inside when having to socialize in groups, and have quirky special interests that I can talk about for hours. None of that is a diagnosis, obviously, but it does give me reason to wonder. Should we pause there? Because there's still a bit more.
Yeah, I think so. And, just my heart just goes out to Robbie, right? Like when you hear somebody describing their experience in those kind of stark terms and pulling out all of the things they might tell themselves to feel better, or all of the things that they might tell other people to hide their loneliness a little bit, that makes me feel incredibly lucky to be able to hear people's stories like that.
Me too.
Yeah.
And these are such common experiences that we've heard across so many people's stories. Yeah. But it doesn't change the fact that when you're living it, when you're the person who experiences it and you haven't yet found your people and your community, it is heartbreaking and it's so hard, and you're living in a world and systems that just aren't built for you.
Yeah, and the opportunities to go find community are different as well, right? Like, so if you're someone who is happy to be a little bit out there, who feels safe to put themselves out there, whether it's going and starting salsa lessons or, going to a local quiz night, and hey, can I join your table type of thing. I've had people do that with us before, like I've seen different things happen. Joining a running club, any of those things, they all require a level of
bravery,
safety, bravery is the word I was thinking of, and a level of almost privilege in a way, right? Because there's usually cost involved as well, but then there's other things that you're like, but if I could do those things, I would do those things, and so I think it's hard, really
it's immense vulnerability as well.
Yes, really is. And it doesn't, importantly, none of that speaks to the value of anyone as a human, right? So it does not. And I will say, like, the easy kind of fun way Robbie has shared in this email, and we've had previous interactions on social media as well, always seems fun and light. And you would never, you know, it feels like somebody who's really comfortable and confident in speaking with strangers. But of course, that's very different online, right? So, you know, and I think that those people that you meet and connect with online, I know lots of people who that's their main friendship groups are online. There's no shame in that.
Yeah.
At all. There's nothing wrong with that.
They're real. If people are responding and you're having connection and you're having conversation and stuff, that's a real friendship. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I think so. Like people on Discord or, you know, like in any of those other kind of places. But yeah, I think that's like, and it took bravery, right, to write that down. To be able to write that down and know that it could get read out to people.
And
so thank
honestly,
you, Robbie.
like, Robbie, I see you and I feel you, because when you described that people have called you Rain Man and you get told that you're valuable to the company because of that, I get told that I'm beautiful minding when I do a lot of my work.
You get what now?
Like, have you seen A Beautiful Mind?
Oh, beautiful minding. So using it. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I always feel very hollow when someone says to me that my value is tied to what I can do in that regard, because I feel like, but I'm a person.
You have intrinsic value as a human being. Well, in fact, just as an entity, you have intrinsic value. Yeah.
And where is that value for me as a human, not just what I can do because of the way my brain works?
Yeah, it's weird. And the way my brain works immediately takes me down the pathway of immediate, like, so quick side quest of the justification into, right, what are all the possible reasons a person might make that response? And how can I then, you know, like it's that I guess that's my Rain Man type of thing, right? Is those, sorry, you can't see me. I did the
Inverted
quote things,
comments.
right? I did the quotey things with my fingers. Or T-Rex hands, I don't know whichever one we're calling it. But like I go, so, okay, cool, but you're in a workplace, so your value to that workplace is intrinsically, you know, attached to what you do for that workplace, right? And so you can be valued in a workplace because you are incredibly good at your job. That is your value in a workplace. Not everybody expects friendship from their workplace. But calling it, what was it called?
Rain Man or Beautiful Minding.
Beautiful Minds. That's bullshit. That's horrible.
Yeah.
To me, if somebody said, you know what, you are so freaking good at your job, we could not do this without you. You are so valuable to this company, right? Totally different. To put in a thing that suggests you are otherwise, I'm sorry, I'm going to base it on those movies, deficient, but because of the fact that you're able to do these mental things, now you're valuable. That's what that sounds like to me. And is that why it, you know, is that what it feels like?
Yeah. But I have learned to take it as a joke, like to turn it on others and use it as a joke before they can do it to me.
Do you get to go and say, well, you're just Samantha-ing your job, so whatever? You know, like, can you do that for me? Well, you know, you're about as good at proper journalism as Carrie Bradshaw, so... Sorry.
Maybe next time I'll just drop my whiteboard marker and be like, you know what, you do it. I'm out.
Or just I don't know, find something of, yes, give them a Cher from Clueless reference and say, oh, thank you so much. I love that I'm that good at my job. And you're just like Cher from Clueless. That's what you bring.
Done.
Thanks.
Did I tell you I got Clueless tarot cards?
Stop it immediately. What? Okay, I need to see them.
Okay, next time.
Next time.
When we chat next time.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Robbie's email because
sorry,
wonderful.
Robbie. We I feel you know us by now and you know that we go on a few side quests, but we are coming back to your very beautiful and that you know, your important questions.
Okay, so Robbie continues. Even after doing the online assessment and making the links myself, it still was a huge shock when my psychologist didn't dismiss the idea that I might be autistic. He said formal assessments were available through the clinic, but that they cost around $2,000 and take time. Initially, I said I was fine without pursuing an assessment because of a diagnosis would not change who I am as a person. So what if I'm autistic? I am who I am, right? Then I went away and thought about it constantly, day and night, for 4 weeks, because apparently that is also something I do. Who knew, right? And then he puts a little shrug emoji. By the next session, autism was the first thing I wanted to talk about. My psychologist said that many people do not pursue formal diagnosis and that the neurodivergent community includes a lot of people who are not formally diagnosed. He also said we could continue our sessions on the assumption that I am autistic and focus on what that might mean for communication, relationships, anxiety, burnout, and how I move through the world. First of all, psychologist, absolute goat.
Right? That's what I was thinking as well, listening to you say that. Because we always say you do not have to have your flipping, your entry stamp on your wrist that says, yes, diagnosed, to be able to start getting yourself those accommodations, customizations, etc., or that neuroaffirming care. And it sounds like that psychologist is really giving that neuroaffirming and that neuro-inclusive care and saying, you know what would be the harm in that? Let's do that, and let's talk about what that might mean. Here's some strategies and tools. Big ups to that psychologist.
Massive. And if that person's in Ballarat, Robbie, I want a name, because I've seen a psychologist who said to me when I was going through my ADHD diagnosis journey, she said, well, we don't actually know that you've got it, and you might just be bigging it up in your head. So let's treat it like you don't for now.
What's the opposite of a goat? I think it's spelt C-U-N-T, maybe. I'm not sure. Yeah.
That seems right.
Mm-hmm.
She meant well, and I had no idea at the time how damaging that was.
Yeah.
But
did she mean well, or was she bringing her own flipping? Anyway, sorry.
She's bringing her own flipping things, but I read that from Robbie, and I was like, yes, good. Love that from your psych.
Yeah.
Anyway, he continues. That has been helpful, but it has also left me in a strange in-between space. A lot of the autism podcasts and audiobooks I listen to talk about late diagnosis being life-changing, particularly for those who finally gain an understanding of themselves after years of feeling different without knowing why. At the same time, those same conversations often acknowledge that many people never pursue formal diagnosis because of the cost, the waiting times, the lack of available services, or because they simply do not feel they need it. Your recent episode touched on people saying everyone is a little autistic and how that can make autistic people feel dismissed, minimized, or devalued. I understand why that is frustrating, and I do not want to be someone who casually borrows a label without understanding the weight or meaning behind it. Oh, Robbie, that isn't our intention. That wasn't what we meant by that episode.
Yeah, no, I don't hear that as him thinking that's what we meant, but as in, the whole dismissing of it. And he's certainly not. He's got far too much thinking and understanding and genuine good intent behind what he's saying. So you're all good, Robbie. We absolve you of any thoughts or feelings of shame around that.
He continues, I turned off the audiobook, but you don't look autistic, just this morning due to the constant references from the author about her diagnosis and how it left me feeling like I might be a fraud in her community. At the same time, I also do not want to ignore a pattern that may have been sitting there my whole life simply because I do not have a formal diagnosis. So I suppose my question is this. How worthwhile do you feel formal diagnosis is, particularly for adults who have already started recognizing themselves in autistic experiences? Do you see diagnosis as an important step in understanding yourself, or is it more of a personal choice depending on someone's circumstances, needs, and access to assessment? And where do you feel undiagnosed autistic people, or people who strongly suspect they may be autistic, fit within the broader neurodivergent community? If you made it to the end of this novel, thank you for taking the time to read it. I would love to hear your thoughts around this. Have a good weekend, besties.
Oh, bless her. Bless him. I am okay. I love when we get a listener email that makes me think so much about how the journeys we all go on individually and the language that we learn to use or to avoid so that we can try and not harm other people or try to account for as many different experiences as possible and not make anyone feel excluded. Everybody is on such a different journey around that. And we have different entry points and exit points, and we, different destinations, and, that's really what it makes me think like around. I remember that feeling, and I still get it sometimes around, am I allowed to say this? Am I an imposter? The whole point, and the one thing that we talk about all the time is neuroinclusion is about everyone, regardless of formal, informal diagnoses. And nobody, in my experience, very few people in my experience, right? And because there's always going to be someone, I can't do the absolutes, would claim autism or think that about themselves in the privacy of their quietest thoughts, unless they genuinely, had reason to think that. Nobody wants to go through that process. Like Robbie said, it has consumed him for a while because he thought it was the most bonkers thing he'd ever heard. And then all of a sudden, he's been confronted by this thing. And so this isn't just a case of, oh, you know what, I think I might like skinny jeans after all, like they might actually suit me when I thought they did. It's not that. It is so much more. So yeah, they're my initial thoughts.
I agree. And I remember that stage pre-formal diagnosis when it's crippling. I remember feeling crippled by the thought of, how dare I? Like, there are people out there that have been in this space and advocating for so long, and they've got formal diagnoses and they know what they're doing. And I'm just this random person who has no idea with any formal diagnosis, and people who are telling me left, right, and center, but you couldn't possibly have it because you're not a hyperactive little boy, or, whatever it might be. Yeah. Or with autism, you communicate well, so you couldn't possibly have it. Yeah. Or you have empathy. That excludes you. I remember that crippling feeling of not knowing where to go or what to do with it. And the only thing I would say, being as far into the journey as I am now, is that neurodiversity is not about a medical diagnosis. Neurodiversity really is a social identity. So if you identify with autism and you see yourself in what you're seeing on social media, in your conversations, in your besties podcasts, then that's valid. And if you don't feel like you need to go down the route of a formal diagnosis and pay thousands of dollars just to be able to, put your hand on a piece of paper or something, it's not necessary.
So I think there's a slight thing that I'll just clarify on that, is that autism is a medical diagnosis.
Yeah, sorry.
So neurodivergence isn't. Autism obviously is. And I knew that that was what you meant. And I was like, so autism obviously is a diagnosis. And I think it all depends what you want to do with that information. If you wanted to go out and start saying, like, making money as a lived experience person without an actual diagnosis or formal assessment or something like that, then, like, that's a different thing to, I want to get myself supports and help and develop strategies based on the fact that I think I'm autistic. That is okay, friend. You don't need the stamp on your wrist that allows you into that nightclub. Like you get to do those things, and I think you get to say, I am neurodivergent. That is a social identity. That is exactly what you're saying, Jayne. A social identity, and you can self-identify as autistic. You absolutely can. And that whole idea of self-diagnosis is valid. Obviously, there are things that formal diagnosis give you that a self-diagnosis won't. That is very different. We're talking about self-acceptance. We're talking about, having conversations with your loved ones and putting those things into place that help you to function in this world, which is brutal enough for anyone, let alone if you are someone who sounds quite autistic.
Autistic, yeah. And one thing we always say when we're in conversations with organizations around inclusions and accommodations and customizations is, it does not matter what anyone's diagnosis is or whether they are not diagnosed. If you make changes that inherently create an inclusive space for your organization and your employees, everyone benefits.
That's exactly
so. Even if someone is not neurodivergent, they may just want to go sit in the quiet space if they're like having a bad day. So Robbie, if you, like me, had that crippling time pre-diagnosis where you thought, even if it comes back as I'm not, ADHD or I'm not autistic or whatever medical diagnosis you are seeking as a neurodivergent person, you can still learn about ADHD or autism or whatever else and look at what kind of things you could change in your life that even in your home might make it easier for you. So I threw out all of my organization system in my closet and now I have bins to throw things in because I am so bad at folding and putting away my laundry. So I didn't need a diagnosis for that. And it helps my whole household because no longer do I have Mount Washington on my couch.
Nice. Yeah. Hey, I really loved the way that you said that. Whatever medical diagnosis you may be seeking as a neurodivergent person, I really like the way that that established Robbie as a neurodivergent person or anyone else who relates to this, establishing them as a neurodivergent person. And if you want to then seek a medical diagnosis for different types of neurodivergence, then, you know, I really like the way you put that.
Thank you so much. I'm really well considered in everything I say all the time and nothing just comes out without me thinking.
All right. So, Robbie specifically asks, how worthwhile do you feel formal diagnosis is, right? And it depends. If you want to get help from, you know, government funded help and things like that, then it's mandatory, right? Like you have to have a formal diagnosis for that sort of thing. If you want accommodations or customizations at work that are highly specialized or expensive or whatever, formal diagnosis is probably going to be required, right? If you are the sort of human who needs that solid fact, otherwise you're never going to have that mosquito in your brain shut up and, you know, you're never going to be able to squash it, then it's worth it, right? Yeah. I think it really much depends. I personally have found my diagnostic journey really validating and I've found it empowering. And there's also that crushing piece that comes with that as well, right? So it's not all high.
Yeah.
You know,
and the validation comes from community and neurokin and things as well. So if 100%. You lean into your neurodivergent identity and you find people you connect with, like your besties, hey, then validation comes from that as well. So if you decide not to go down formal diagnosis, then you've got people who will
perfectly valid too
validate you.
They give a load of validation.
I think we've kind of answered the 3-part question, but about where do you feel undiagnosed autistic people or people who strongly suspect they may be autistic fit within the broad neurodivergent community? Well, importantly, you fit. Mm-hmm. And importantly, if and when you get a formal diagnosis, that doesn't suddenly switch on your autism status, right? If you're autistic, you're autistic. So that's kind of that. And there are so many problems with the diagnostic process and people who get missed and people who are high masking and have high masked for so long that they are able to mask throughout the entire process and therefore never get a diagnosis as well. That happens. I know more people than than you would believe. Actually, that applies to as well. They don't know how to operate around other people without that mask, and so they're not able to drop it even during diagnosis.
And we've all learned to act in the way that we are expected. We perform. That's the right word. I am an actor and therefore I act. Yes. Okay? Anyway, I worry that if I went to a psychologist, I would be acting and I wouldn't get a diagnosis and I would pay that much money and then walk away going, but I still feel it.
Yep.
And I think it's something you feel. Like if you are hearing this stuff and you react to it and you know, maybe you don't need the formal diagnosis.
Yeah, I think you get to be kind to yourself and you get to show up in, so importantly, genuine autistic and neurodivergent spaces are not going to demand that you produce your flipping diagnosis in order to be welcomed.
Yeah.
Right? As with every community, there is certainly nothing within any form of neurodivergent community that you get your neurodivergence and all of a sudden you're never an asshole. We all know that that's not the case. Like we're all assholes still on occasion, right? So you will have some assholes in those community and, but every neurodivergent place or community that I've been in, the ones that I want to be in, like they've all been through their own struggles too. Yeah. If you were to find a community and join that community and say, yep, I have done a number of tests, this is my journey, if you weren't made incredibly welcome, then they can get fucked.
100%. Fuck right off.
Yeah. They're not real neurodivergent people in my experience. I'm kidding.
No.
I'm not ever going to tell anyone they're not a neurodivergent person like that.
Can I just say, I've got this image in my head of what we're talking about. I think it was something you said that triggered this image, and it's so visceral. About like get your autism diagnosis and it's like a key and you unlock a door to Narnia and you walk through and there's all these autistic people and your community is just there.
And they're just like, yes, welcome. Come on in. And
here's a really interesting fact about something that you've deep dived already so we can have a talk about it for 4 hours.
Yeah. And you know what? When you get a bunch of often very binary thinkers and opinion holders in one place, there's never any conflict. That's not true. Because funnily enough, you know, I think that's right. You've got, oh my God, like with myself, right? So the autistic ADHD piece, I've got I get very strong opinions and I won't form that opinion until I'm absolutely sure, right? And so then I've got the facts and I'm pretty confident I'm right. And then I can be a little bit binary. But then my ADHD comes in and is like, how do you know though? And so my ADHD will not allow me to ever have an absolute position on anything. Yeah. And so, you know what I mean? It's just like,
oh yeah, I'm the same.
The constant conflict, I feel really strongly. But then Jayne said something really smart and now I feel really strongly about that.
I'm the same. And there are some times when I'm at work and I just go, but I know this is how it has to be and I see it all working. And why are you disobeying me? It's so annoying.
And I know, like, only stupid people don't know this right now. Right?
Well,
that's how I think sometimes.
They give a load of validation.
My Flip Diva phone is out. Robbie's email is done. We've done an amazing episode deep diving into his incredible email. Thank you so much, Robbie. Bestie Robbie. Yeah. It was a delight and a joy, and also it made me feel all the feels. So
and we hope that you got something useful from this. We hope you feel validated. We'll pay you a special validation.
They give a load of validation.
Everyone's welcome here. It does not say RSVP on the Statue of Liberty.
We are all besties here, even when we say things that the other ones don't know.
It's a Clueless reference when she's planning
know every word in that movie.
Oh, I can't believe it. When Cher is planning her dad's 50th. Hello, it's his 50th. Anyway, so
this is where we're at now.
All right, this is where we're at. Look. We really appreciate that letter and we'd love to hear what your thoughts are. There may be parts of you going, nah, fuck you. You need an absolute diagnosis. You don't get to say you're autistic without that formal piece of paper. And you know what? I'd love to hear your thinking on that. You know, like you get to have those thoughts. Just, send us an email, fthemfish@gmail.com. And similarly, come on to our socials. Come and see us, fthemfish, AuDHD for Grownups on Instagram or on TikTok. I keep forgetting TikTok exists, so I haven't done anything for a while.
Okay.
It's out of sight, out of mind. I'm not going to lie.
It's also for youngins.
And we'd love you to please... but I'm not old. I am little. I'm deciding to deliberately forget my age now. But anyway, we'd really love to ask you a favour. If you could follow us, if you could please, on whatever your favourite podcast platform is, just hit the little follow. Maybe come on over to YouTube, join we've got 3 listeners, 3 watchers on most of the videos.
That's more than we had last time.
I think it might be. Yeah, it might be. Might be. But yeah, if you could please come on over there and share this with a friend. If you've got someone who is asking themselves the autism questions, am I, should I, can I, maybe they'll get something from this one too.
Or any neurodiversity.
Yeah.
Any medical diagnosis within the neurodivergent spectrum. Because let's face it, we're all going to go through similar experiences when we start to think, am I potentially this thing?
Yeah. And if you've got something you'd want us to talk about, if you have a question, you want us to deep dive in on something, just, let us know and we will do the work for you because that's what friends do.
That's what your besties will do for you.
Yeah.
All right, besties.
Have an amazing week, Jayne. Have an amazing week, listeners. And we will see you all next time.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Friends, too cool, Neurokin and sharing good neurodivergent things. They be clever and quick with a fair bit of sergeant. validation. And fuck, they give